This week, our Senate Finance Committee held a very important hearing to discuss the U.S. tax code. Like many Americans, I have deep concern about the practice of companies moving overseas for the primary purpose of avoiding U.S. taxes, and that happens to be called inverting or inversion. In the early 2000s, I led an effort to prevent companies from simply setting up a filing cabinet and a mailbox overseas to escape millions of dollars of federal taxes. In 2004, as chairman of the Finance Committee, I was successful in enacting reforms that established rules governing inversions for the first time. Prior to these reforms, all a company had to do to move its tax home out of the United States was to fill out and file papers with a tax haven of that company's choice. There were no rules or standards for determining whether a transaction had substance or was purely a tax avoidance scheme. The 2004 provisions have successfully curtailed abuses targeted by the legislation. But this is not to say that inversions no longer take place. One area to study further is the role of tax rules that allow inverted companies to strip income out of the United States in a company's decision to invert. Reforms to curtail such abuses should be considered to protect the U.S. tax base and reduce the incentive to invert. Ideally, these reforms would be done alongside tax reform. Corporate inversions are a symptom of much deeper structural problems with our outmoded and very anti-competitive corporate tax code. The fact is, we live in an increasingly global world. This is a reality that we cannot fight by erecting barriers in our tax code. We need a tax code that recognizes the realities of the 21st century. We need a competitive tax code that makes Americans' businesses want to stay here and for foreign businesses to want to come here.